So now, picking up where we left off, how do you do a turtle, the actual movement, spinning? Like with many power moves, I actually teach it from a footwork step. And the first footwork step we'll do standing up because it'll make more sense as far as what to do with the feet. Then we'll bring it to the floor and then we'll progress it into the actual movement. Now, the upright step that I am referring to when I talk about teaching turtles from footwork is actually an old school step called the grapevine, which you've probably seen, probably done. So if I stand normally like this, I'm going to take my left foot and step behind the right, then the right foot steps over, then the left foot steps in front, right foot steps over. Because I'm out of room, we'll go the other way. Right foot back, left foot back, right foot forwards, left foot forwards, or over. And then starting from here to go in sequence, back, back, front, front, back, back, front, front. Okay, now in a circle, I go counterclockwise, so left, right, left, right, left, back, right, left, front, right. If I were going clockwise, I would reverse that, right, left, back, over, front, over. Then add the hands. Counterclockwise, left over, right under, right over, left back, right comes through, left forward, right comes over. Vice versa in the clockwise direction, right, left, front, over, back, over. So the transition from the footwork step to turtles might already be fairly obvious. What I'm going to do is instead of having arms straight, I'm going to start stabbing. I'm going to stab one elbow at a time, not both, just to break it up into additional baby steps. And I'm also going to change the position of my hands because if you've been breaking for any length of time, you know that most footwork is done with the hands in a bridged position, like so. We typically don't want to support all of our body weight, especially while doing a power move like turtles, with the hands in a bridge position because of the obvious danger to the thumbs. So we're going to go flat-handed. And again, every time we go flat-handed, we're thinking active fingers and spread out fingers. By the way, that step is often called the baby love step because a big girl named Baby Love and the Rocksteady crew made the step famous in the movie Beat Street a long time ago in the 80s, and we continued to call it that, the baby love step, for as long as I can remember. So for the baby love step to transition to a turtle, because I go counterclockwise and I'm right-handed, I'm going to start with that arm stabbed, that elbow stabbed into my hip, right elbow to right hip. I'm going to keep my left arm relatively straight. Might bend a little bit, but I'm not going to actually pull it in to stab it yet. You can see that I'm stepping back with the left and simultaneously stabbing the right elbow to the hip, or put more accurately, bringing the right hip down to meet the right elbow. Again, as I step with the left foot. I can reverse that to go clockwise, and then it'll be the right foot stepping back and the left hip coming down to meet the left elbow. There, there. Okay. Next, let's do the same thing, but stabbing the other arm. So now my left hip is going to meet my left elbow, and my right arm is going to stay relatively straight as I continue to go my direction, counterclockwise. Over, under, stab, and step up. Uh, uh, uh. and clockwise. That way is a little more awkward for me. Now, the next step is obvious. We're going to stab both arms and shift weight from one elbow to the other as we take the same steps. So as I am going counterclockwise, as I step back with my left foot, I'm going to shift my weight to my right elbow. The hip will already be on the elbow. As I step forward with my left foot, I will then shift the weight to my left elbow. If I start here, you see how the hip detaches from the elbow, and then under, bring it over, step, and then hip arm detaches and moves. And as you get comfortable, you can add a little bit more speed. And in order to do so, what has to happen is the distribution of weight between the hands and the feet needs to shift in favor of the hands. In the beginning, much of the weight is taken over by the feet. And you can think of it, instead of an on-off switch, like with the lights, it's more of a dimmer switch. So as you get comfortable, the proportion of your body weight that is distributed to your feet shifts away from the feet and more towards the hands. In the beginning, it might be 50-50 or 60-40 in favor of one or the other, hands or feet, depending on your comfort. But over time, it becomes more like 70-30 in favor of the hands, 80-20, 90-10, 100-0, where your feet are off the ground and you're doing a turtle. I should probably show the other way because I need to practice. Awkward, but not that bad. So as you might have guessed by now, having watched me teach a little bit, I like to remove one detail at a time in order to progress, or add one detail at a time in order to regress and to teach a move from scratch. What that means here is that in order to get from where we are, this sort of turtle footwork, turtle hybrid with baby left step, in order to progress from there to a real turtle, we're going to take away one thing. So in this instance, it's going to be one foot. Because I go counterclockwise, I'm going to take my left foot away first. But then I'm going to bring it back, and then I'm going to take away my right foot. And then, as you can imagine, I'm just going to take away both feet, with maybe an intermediate something or other in between. Now I'm going to take away my left foot. So as I do those two variations, notice that I'm not breaking any of the rules that I established early on. I am keeping my fingers wide and active. I am not moving my free leg more than I need to. So if my left leg is up, I'm trying to keep it in more or less the same position. Right leg is up, more or less the same position. If I let it relax and move a lot, I lose control of the movement and I hamper my progress. So that free leg can be straight, it can be bent, it can be tucked into the side, whatever you find comfortable, whatever is natural at first. And over time, you'll get more and more comfortable and have more and more control over that leg. I also mentioned a possible intermediate step. That would be, for example, dragging one foot instead of lifting that foot. Can you see what I mean? I've still got one leg up, but that other leg is dragging on the ground instead of taking a regular step. And as I do that, it begins to feel a little more like the real thing. Because by definition, since I'm dragging the foot, there's not a whole lot of weight on it. So I'm bringing the proportion of my body weight that is distributed between the feet and the hands more and more and more gradually in favor of being totally carried by the hands. And here we go. Turtles. Notice gradual transition from one step to the next, gradually lifting one foot, and then that foot comes off, then the other foot comes off the floor, and I continue to do the same rhythm and the same pattern with pretty still legs, not completely relaxed, not completely tensed. Somewhere in the middle that gives me the comfort to be able to sustain the movement. Once you understand how to do the turtle and sustain the turtle, then it's a matter of getting into it from standing up, for example, from a top rock step. So in order to do that, say, again, I go counterclockwise. My last top rock step, if I'm doing regular Indian step, left foot front, back, and now I'm planting it in such a way that I can push off it really well. I'm going to swing both my hands down. For a turtle, it doesn't really matter if it's left, right, or both hands that come down at the same time. You can experiment with that to see what's comfortable for you. When we get into other power moves, including the variations of turtles with arms straight, it does matter. For now, I'm just going to sort of wind up and push off my left leg and bring myself down. For me, I'm going to stab my right first and then just go right into it. And for real, like that. I'm a little rusty at the moment, so you can probably hear my hands slapping the floor quite loudly. That's not anything to be alarmed by. One, because I've adapted my hands, wrists, arms, shoulders, elbows, etc. to withstand the impact at this point after having done this for over 3 decades. But generally, you want to try to keep it a little quieter. And the reason for that is, one, control, and two, safety, because you have a lot of impact which is audible. You can actually hear the impact that can, over time, lead to an impact injury, which can, in this case, be something small, like a bruise to the hand from slapping the floor so hard repeatedly, but it could become more than that. It could become bone bruise. It could even become a sprain of some sort to one of the many joints that you have in the wrist. So over time, try to quiet that down and be like a ninja. Be as soft and quiet as you can with as many of your movements as is feasible to do so with. Let's try one more time and see if we can make it a little quieter. A little better. So here's how I make my hand steps or slaps quieter. If you've ever done ballet, maybe you haven't because this is breaking after all, or if you've ever played basketball, which maybe you have, you know that when you land from a jump, you don't just land flat on your foot. You actually want to land toe, ball, heel in order to better absorb the shock of the impact. And of course, the footwear helps and all that. But that concept safely distributes the force of impact throughout your foot so that no part of your foot gets injured, or at least is less likely to be injured over time. But it is also transferable to the hands when jumping on the hands. So what I'm trying to do here with my turtles in order to reacclimate is to actually, instead of landing each step of the turtle as I transfer from one hand to the next with my hand flat, I'm actually going toe ball heel like this. But again, my hand is not relaxed like so, nor are my fingers together like this. They're open and active. So I am landing like this. And if you watch the video again closely, you can see that. At least I think you can. Over time, as you develop comfort with the movement pattern of turtles, you can begin to change the shape of the legs. So in the beginning, they're very curled in and bent. They're both tucked and bent. When I say tucked, I mean that they're bent at the hip and, of course, already bent at the knee. And they might be offset, they might be staggered in some way. Very few people have perfectly symmetrical leg positions between the two legs when they do turtles. It's normal for one to be a little different than the other, but again, the point is control. From there, you can, for example, bring the two knees together by still keeping the legs bent. You could straddle so that both legs are straight and wide open. You could bring the two legs together, straight leg turtles, and many other positions such as a lotus, which I can't do. You can cross your knee, float over your knee like a figure four. You could do many other positions, whatever your body allows you to do, and whatever you're comfortable with trying. Then you can change arm positions as well, meaning that perhaps the hand pattern changes, or for example, one arm is straight while one is bent, or if you have the upper body strength, you can refrain from stabbing and actually bring the arms outside the hips or up against the hips. And I call this a scorpion. So, some examples. Survived. So, in conclusion, that's almost everything that there is to know about turtles. I probably missed a detail here and there. There are more options for warm-ups. There are more options as far as variety with the legs. Some other time I'll go into variety or variations with the arms to demonstrate, for example, straight arm turtles, which we call air turtles, and so on and so forth, and also the progression into walks. So what I mean by that is turtles are one example of what we call a bent arm walk. We call them walks because you're walking on the hands. And once we progress to straight arm walks, we sustain the same hand pattern. So it looks quite different from what most people tend to think of when they think of, for example, UFOs, wolves, and other names that I've heard. In order to continue to walk on the hands, you have to really establish that hand pattern with all of the fundamental tips that I've discussed here today. From there, you sustain that hand pattern as you get comfort and strength and better technique in order to bring the body up as the arms straighten, continue the same motion, and then do similar variations with the positions of the legs. So that does it for now. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. And if you liked it, let me know, I guess.